I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, guys. Thanks for joining me. And obviously, a lot of people are joining this, are on this channel because they've been following me for the housing crisis now for the last, I don't know, 10 years. And the price of housing has been out of reach. We sold out to the highest foreign investor. Our country's laundered huge amounts of money, whether you're in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. We competed for wealthy investors, and look what we got. We lost everything. Our people born and raised in our own cities can't afford to live in them. But it looks like there seems to be some sort of light at the end of the tunnel for people sidelining and waiting for this craziness to kind of start coming down to earth reality, where people, average wage earners, should own an average home like this. It shouldn't be $1.2 million for a house that's realistically worth $230,000. So what's going on? Well, Vancouver real estate, now a riskier asset, causing mortgage rates to rise. This was posted a few hours back. Vancouver is one of the epicenters where the price of housing and the mass exodus of people, middle class people, or Canadian proper, has moved themselves into the interior. I'm one of those statistics. I love Vancouver. Now I live in the city of Merritt, or the town of Merritt, or the village of Merritt. Vancouver residential real estate has become riskier. Leading banks to raise interest rates and reduce access to money deposit, despite the Bank of Canada's decision to cut the overnight rate, says UBC professor. Let me just zoom this in. I could barely see there. There we go. Now I can see it. I couldn't even see that. Holy smokes. I'm like, why is it so small? Okay. Somerville said he was not surprised the spread between the real estate mortgage interest rates and the Bank of Canada rate had grown. Real estate is now perceived as riskier for banks than it was 3 months ago. Yeah, it wasn't really the COVID, but we've seen this coming as people started losing jobs. You started to see a lot of jobs on the chopping block before COVID, okay? Before COVID hit, all right? Because there's a realization you could have people stop making mortgage payments or rent payments in mass. Normally in a downturn, that evolves slowly, he said. Well, in a correction, what usually happens is the average paid worker loses the average wage, gets unemployed, then can't make the average wage payment on a home. Then you see a correction. Price of housing comes down to reflect wages. Because Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, and New Zealand, and Western United States, all the way from Washington State down to California, is pretty much sold out to the highest bidders. So you see all these mass exodus happening, and New York too. Mass exodus is happening all over these major cities, right? So this is a little bit of a different, because our housing markets are not set to autopilots. They're set to bring in more money from wealthy investors. Now that's drying up because of COVID. On March 27, the Bank of Canada slashed its overnight interest rate to 0.25%. Remember, we covered a story on that to help stem the COVID financial crisis that has seen more than 2.1 million Canadians file for unemployment insurance in the past 2 weeks, and 500,000 ask for mortgage payment deferrals. Traditionally, a drop in the Bank of Canada overnight interest rate leads to a drop in mortgage rates. But Somerville, director of UBC Centre for Urban Economics and Real Estate, said the current crisis was highly unusual. Of course, the current crisis is highly unusual, but it's something that, again, if housing, okay, is tied to average wages, then you wouldn't have to worry about this. But when the average $230,000 home that's 90 years old is going for $1.2 million, it's not going to look good in the end. You know what I'm saying? And the entire population is severely deleveraged. And the people that, I own my property. Yeah, but how much have you deleveraged using your home as an ATM machine to borrow money off it so you could eat? In the 2008 financial crisis, there were different sorts of uncertainties around. There were economic, so you could understand a bit of what the phenomena was. But with this, it's not the economy grinding down slowly. It's not a financial panic. It's not an economic shock. It's a public health shock. That's very, very different, and we don't know how it will be on the other side, he said. For example, it was impossible to predict how trade and tourism, two mainstays for the provincial economy, would respond once social distancing restrictions were relaxed or lifted. With trade, do we get deglobalization? With tourism, do we get people living from the moment now and being tourists, or do people get fearful? Somerville asked, while pointing out that all debt governments are taking on to support the economy will have to be repaid. Oh, don't worry. In Canada, you don't have to worry. Anything goes down in Canada, it gets pumped in by government. Like the media outlets in Canada were all going bankrupt. And just before the last election, the federal government pumped in $650 million to help keep these media companies going, like Canadian public state-run media, right? So they got to keep that stuff going, right? Governments are highly loading up on debt to get us through, but on other side, you have to pay off that debt. But what if we have a 5% tax to repay all the debt? Uh-oh. Are they implying something? Well, that slows the economy. We have so much uncertainty that it's very hard to think about where things might be once we have more certainty. How about relate to each other is going to be different. So yeah, we're definitely going to relate in different ways, but a 5% tax here's the deal. They were supposed to scrap the GST in Canada. I think it was in 1993 or 94 they were supposed to scrap the GST permanently. It was just to pay down our deficit. Well, since the GST stuck around for so much longer, and we've been funding a bunch of crap, let's just say we call it even. People get bailed out for all the years of paying all this GST that was supposed to be scrapped and promised, and we kind of work it out where, well, that's too bad. Use the GST to pay the existing GST, to pay down the debt that we accumulated, right? Vancouver realtor and commentator Steve said it would take at least a year before heavy discounts in residential prices appeared because real estate was not a liquid asset, he said. It also takes 18 months for default properties to be sold. See, in the United States, default properties sell almost immediately. You go, you pay 30 grand, 40 grand, you get yourself a nice, decent home, 3-4 bedroom down in Florida or in Arizona or in Utah, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, in Canada, there's too much red tape, and getting a deal in Canada, it's like getting something to go your way. It's like, no way, man. No way. However, he warned that price drops were coming for a number of reasons. Firstly, the economy would be fundamentally changed due to unemployment and weak economic growth due to COVID restrictions. The reason real estate has been so good over the past 5 years that we have had low unemployment, no, we're underemployment because lots of restaurants in the major city of Vancouver can't hire because no one could afford to live there. So what do? Rake in more money from foreign investors. Relatively strong economy and its low interest rates that allowed everybody to get a mortgage and leverage up that pushed prices higher. That's true. So now we're going on to above average wage earners now. Average wage earners, yes, it's not including you here. Now we are in a situation where the economy is going to be really weak. Unemployment is going to be high, and the banks are going to be tight. The second reason was tightness in the money market. Over the next week or two, the banks are going to tighten, he said. Even if you want a mortgage, they might not give you one. As a bank, you can't blame them. Well, they're in dire straits right now, and banks are very selective on who they lend to. I tried to buy a building here, a commercial building here in town, to run my business. I was $30,000 short. I had the rest of the money to put down to buy the property. I needed 30 grand. I own my house free and clear and 2 cars. And you know what they told me? You don't qualify. And my credit is like good. It's almost in the top 700s, no inquiries, no gaps on file, and never, obviously, no gaps, means no bankruptcies. And they said I didn't qualify. So that's very selective who they give money to, right? Luckily, I didn't buy that building after everything that's happened, and you know what I'm saying? Uh, so Steve said that that coming into the COVID crisis, consumer insolvencies were growing at pretty rapid pace, the quickest in 10 years, and that was when the economy was buzzing and we had lowest unemployment in 10 years. Now unemployment is up 15%. Consumer insolvencies are going to go up. Everyone thinks prices will be down 10% by May. It's a much more drawn out process because real estate is so uh, illiquid. There's no price discovery right now because nothing is selling. Did he say illiquid? Illiquid earlier? I think I read that wrong. Did he say illiquid? Probably read that wrong. It's okay. You guys know what I mean, right? According to the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver Vickers, last month there were 2,524 sales across all classes of residential homes. This is an increase over the same time last year that included 2.1% increase in values. 2.1%, so it keeps going up. So this is last month. However, the board noted that everything changed midway through March when the state of emergency called realtors are considered essential services. Whoa, let me reread that. However, the board noted that everything changed midway through March when real estate when the state of emergency was called, realtors are considered an essential service. Realtors are considered, yes, they are considered an essential service, right? Because why do you think Canada didn't close flights to China? Because we're heavily binged on Chinese money. Canada wants more Chinese workers and students, and it says immigration minister. How many? 500,000 per year. Visas are increasing from China about $500,000 per year, but opening more visa offices could help Canada with our tax money, could help Canada compete for Chinese worker students and a lucrative tourist business. It's the biggest market in the world. They spend a lot of money, he said. So this is what they want. They want more. They want more foreign people to come in. They don't care if they're Canadian or want to become Canadian. They just want money, right? And biggest BC mine, no Canadian hires. Here you go here. Where is it? Oh, did they get that? I think they got rid of it. I think they got rid of the article. Let's put coal mine. Is this the one, no Canadian hires? BC mine to hire Chinese temporary workers for years. Yeah, they don't hire Canadians, but they do use their healthcare system if somebody gets hurt in the mine, right? And then you see the mass exodus of people. And in this article here, Aboriginals and whites leaving Metro Vancouver. Tens of thousands of people every year. This is from 2016, and there's like 10,000 whites and 460 Indigenous people left Metro Vancouver for other parts of the province. Who wants to live under that? And there's people in Vancouver looking at me saying, "Oh, you're just jealous. You can't live in Vancouver." I don't want to live in Vancouver. I've lived in Miami. I lived in Mexico for 2 years. I lived all over different places. I don't want to live in Vancouver. Thank you. Even if for free, to live there for free, I wouldn't live there. I like this small town. I love it. I love this. This is like perfection. You know what I'm saying? This is like growing up in the Canada I grew up in, and it's a pleasure to raise my children in the type of Canada I grew up in when I was a kid. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to set your reminders, guys, on the YouTube channel. Get over to the YouTube channel. Share this video, please. Get this video out there. If you guys don't mind getting on the channel and setting your reminders to trends in the housing market this Wednesday, and Mike in the Night edition with call-ins. Get lots of call-ins from all over the Commonwealth. And same thing on trends in the housing market. People call in, tell us their housing stories and employment. Trends in the housing market now covers housing, employment, unemployment, wage wages, job losses, cuts, economy, gold, silver, all kinds of cool stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your Monday.